Hey, Paget here. Welcome to my channel. If you're new here, you can find tons of videos on back pain, scoliosis, wellness, rehab, longevity, and lifestyle medicine. If you're returning, welcome back. Today, we're going to be talking about the condition called kyphosis. I'm just going to jump in here and tell you about a live webinar that I've got coming up soon. It's going to be about scoliosis, how to manage scoliosis at home, how I manage it with my clients, and I'm going to introduce some new material that I haven't yet put into any of my courses. So it's going to be really interesting for you guys to learn as I present this. The webinar dates are June 28th at 10 a.m. Eastern Time and June 30th at 12 Eastern Time. If you want to get involved with those, just click the link below this video and sign up so that you can get some emails from me about when it is, a couple of reminders, and then we can get live on those dates. We're going to do a Q&A as well, so any questions you have, any questions you wanted to ask me in person, I will be answering live on that webinar. So, see you guys there. Kyphosis is a rounding of the upper back. So some people call it a sort of a humpback or Dowager's hump. It's a rounding through this upper part of the thorax here, and it's usually defined as a rounding that's over 50 degrees. It's actually more common than we think. There are medical conditions that cause it, but we can cause it ourselves by spending our time bending forward, maybe over a computer, or if our work is with our hands in front of us, we can actually round that upper back. So how do we get rid of that, or how do we manage it and stop it from getting worse? Well, first thing we want to do is think about opening up the shoulders and opening up that middle part of the back. So simply, we can do some exercises that involve stretching. We then also want to think about our hips as well and opening up those hips, and then finally strengthening the muscles in between those shoulder blades and along the spine to actually hold the spine up straighter. So how do we open up the front of the chest? That's a great question to start with. There's tons of ways of opening the chest, these chest muscles here, but I'm going to show you a few different ways. First one I want to look at is this. You're going to lie down on your fronts, place your arm out to your side, and your other arm up by your head. Then you're going to use this arm that's bent, this arm that's straight. I'm just going to show you from a different angle here. And you're going to simply roll until you feel a stretch in the front of that chest on the arm that's straight. My legs are going to also help with this motion. And I'm going to hold this as a stretch for 10 or 15 seconds. And after that, I simply change arms. So I get a really nice chest stretch in here, but I'm also getting a rotation in my back. And I'll show you this from a different way. And that rotation actually starts to work that curve from the bottom up. Okay, so let's say you do 3 times either side. A 10 to 15 second stretch. Now your shoulders are going to be a bit more open. So we're going to work on that back from a different way. You may be familiar with this position, this all fours. You're going to tuck the pelvis like this. So I'm taking my pelvis forward, tensing my abdominal muscles. Then I'm going to drop the head forward slightly. Then from here I'm going to push up with my shoulders, pulling my shoulder blades forward, trying to get this middle part, I'll show you here, this middle part of the back up towards the ceiling as much as I can. So I'm tucking my pelvis, dropping my head, and getting the back to really move up towards the ceiling. So I'm doing a really nice flexion here. Now you say, well, this is making the kyphosis worse. And yes, it is. It's stretching it in order for us to release it into extension. So here, now my pelvis is going the other way. I'm now not necessarily cranking my head up. That doesn't really help so much. I'm going to tuck my chin inwards and feel a dropping down of this part of my belly through here all the way down to the ground. And I'm tensing those muscles in between my shoulder blades up and down my spine to really work that extension. Then we're going to go the other way, tuck my pelvis again, tuck my head, pull my back up, round it, making that kyphosis worse, but then releasing that into extension. Try not to overextend my neck, drive my chin backwards like this. Okay, now we can do those as many times as you want, but I recommend 5 to 10 movements to really start mobilizing the spine. Another great stretch for a kyphosis can be achieved by using a foam roller. So a foam roller is simply one of these big roundy foam things. This one's actually a particularly soft one. And you're going to place that across your back like this. And then from here, you're going to just lie back onto it and allow passive extension, allow gravity to do the movement as much as possible. And then you want your head to be relaxed. So I'm going to use a little pillow here, just under my head. So you can put your arms up and then let them drive your shoulders down towards the pillow. And then once you're in this position, take your arms out either side. And here you're simply just relaxing and stretching out that curve, opening up the front of the body, taking deep breaths in it when you do this, because the breaths are going to open up the lungs. And just relax here for as long as you want, 1 to 3 minutes. Now when you come back up, it can be useful to actually hold your head, because sometimes the neck muscles can find lifting your head up from that position a little bit painful. Now we have to think about how we can stretch these hips, and then we'll get on to the strengthening. So hip stretch is very simple. All we're going to do is put one knee bent on the ground and the other knee in front, tug the pelvis a little bit, slide forward until we get a little bit of a stretch in the front of the hip here. Now to acknowledge the kyphosis, I like to take both hands up towards the ceiling as much as I can. So just take both hands up, 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 and try not to sort of dunk into the lower back. Keep that pelvis nice and tight, keep the stretch at the front of the hip, keep your lower back relatively neutral, and take your arms up as much as you can. Now in order to keep going with the stretching at the front, we can add something to this, okay? So both hands go up, and then drop them down in a big circle whilst keeping the stretch at the front of the hips. Then both hands up, take them down into a big circle. Now we're working the front of the shoulder as well as the hip here. So once more, into this position, tensing my butt a little bit, feeling a stretch anywhere in the front of the leg, front of the hip, not arching my lower back, okay? My belly is strong and tight, yet I still want to acknowledge that my shoulders can be tight. So nice big circles. Let's say you hold that stretch in the front of the hip for 10 of these nice big circles. All right, now we've got the hips warmed up a little bit. We've opened up the front of the shoulders. We've mobilized the back. Now we're going to add some strengthening. This is a great way to add strength into the upper back. It's similar to a technique by Dr. Eric Goodman, the foundation training, which I really like. So what we're going to do is put the weight into our heels here, slide the hips back with a little bend in the knees, and try and keep the back as straight as possible. So imagine the back is not bending here, okay? So I'm keeping it nice and straight. One way to do that is actually turn your hands outwards, pull your shoulder blades back a little bit. We're not overextending through here. We're keeping still tight in the core, but sliding the hips backwards. So I really am on the heels here. I'm not bent forward onto my toes. Now once I'm in this position, I'm going to tuck my chin in, making my back as straight as possible. Then I'm going to take my hands and arms up over my head, trying to make a straight line between my fingers, elbows, shoulders, mid back here, and hips. And this will switch on those muscles of that upper back over the long curve of that kyphosis. Hold that for about 10 or 15 seconds. Take a deep breath in. And then you can come out, and as you come out, you slide your hips forward to reach a nice erect posture. Now, in this posture, you can also check that you're in alignment. So roughly the right alignment is having the hips and knees stacked over your ankles, shoulders stacked over the hips, and then head back over the shoulders. So in yoga, we call this Tadasana, and it's this mountain pose. So you're nice and strong. You can actually put a little bit of tension in between your shoulder blades here to pull the shoulders back a little bit. And then from here again, weight into the heels, bending the knees, sliding the hips backwards, keeping everything nice and straight from top of your head right through to your sacrum, holding here, taking your arms up into this position, arms straight if you can. Sometimes people like to push their hands together like this. Hold this position, get that tension in between your shoulder blades and upper back. Hold 10-15 seconds and then release and push hips forward and go into the mountain pose. All right, so we've got some stretching for the chest, stretching for the upper back. We've got stretching for the hips, opening everything up, and then we've got strengthening to hold that spine as straight as possible. If you like what you see here today, don't forget to like and subscribe to my channel and post a comment underneath. But also, if you can share this video with someone who you think could use these exercises to help with their kyphosis, I'd really appreciate that, because the more people who see my channel, the more views I get, the more videos I can make.